Hi, this is part 7 of the Corvette build, and a couple of items to share with you on this one. In the last episode, I think it was, I was talking about the deck and how I was going to attach it to the main hull, and there was a bit of work to do on the etched deck. I'm holding it at a slight angle here to cut the reflection off the light here. But if you recall, I was talking about this being made up of multiple pieces. Now, rather than attach the main piece of deck to the model and then apply these afterwards, I've got a different route, and I've actually put them together first. Now, I did this by, I bring that up a little bit closer. I taped all these separate elements to the front layer by layer and then flipped it over, and I've soldered wherever I could into these holes, and basically to give it quite a decent attachment to the sort of sub layer here. And by doing that, it's made it a lot stronger and less likely to come off in the future. You can see a little trace of the solder here, and then all that was left to do then was just go around the edge with a cocktail stick and some super glue, and feed a little tiny bit of super glue into the edge just to tack the edges down. But it's now very, very strong, and I've added some of the other details. There's these parts where the anchor chains go through, and that's pretty much ready to attach to the hull. Now, I also discussed about different adhesives I was going to use, and super glue was sort of out of the question. I toyed with the idea of contact adhesive, but again it was too thick, and I then decided on the super glue gel. Now, hunting around locally, I found this super glue gel for less than £1 a tube, so I bought about half a dozen tubes of this, and it says on here short-term correctable. So ideally this just gives me that little tiny bit of time just to tweak it before it goes off. So the plan is to use this. However, in looking for this, I also came across this, which is a kind of no brand glue from my local pound shop, and it's designed for attaching things like metal to glass and to ceramics and mirrors and things like that. I've not opened it yet. I've got a suspicion it may just be a contact adhesive, but I thought I'd give it a little go just in case it is a little bit thinner than the contact adhesive that I've got. So I might do a little bit of experiment on this. I mean, it shows it repairing shoes and hose pipes and all kinds of things. So I'll give this a go just on a test piece and see what it's like. It may not do for the main deck, but it might do further down the line for other pieces which have to be applied to the deck. However, I've got this gel super glue to fall back on. So all being well, I'll be attaching the deck pretty much, next thing I do really, and then I'll be able to start applying pieces to the deck. Also, I'm going to be doing a bit of painting as well. Now, the other part of this update is just to take a little break from all the etched brass. I decided to detail the wheelhouse. Now, in a previous episode, I mentioned that it uses the sort of four-sided box, which is the wheelhouse that comes with the kit, plus some side pieces, and then you add this photo etch deck to this little walkway that comes all the way around. However, this is just an empty box, nothing in it at all. So what I've done is I've detailed it with a load of evergreen strip and sheet styrene and various other bits, and created some details to go in it. And although it probably won't be that visible, it's just nice to know that there's something there should somebody look through the window. So the main elements, I've left this sort of so it'll come apart to be able to paint it easier. What I did, I got one of these figures that come with the Revell or the Matchbox kit. It's like he looks like a kind of commander figure, maybe the ship's captain or whatever. He's a one-piece figure. There's some sink marks in these, which are easy enough to fill. But I cleaned him up, and the reason I wanted him is because he's standing up straight, and it meant I could get a rough idea by placing him inside the wheelhouse as to where the floor should be, because as I say, it was just an empty box. So I ended up, if you look underneath there, I ended up putting some strips of styrene in the bottom, and then put a piece of plastic card on the bottom to act as the floor. And it is more or less in line with this walkway that goes around the edge. So once that was in place, and it may be difficult to pick up on this, you might see it, I used some evergreen sheet that has parallel lines on it, like planking, and they're very, very close to the planking that is on the brass walkway. So it basically looks like floorboards inside the cabin. I also put a little piece here which is going to stand in front of the ship's wheel, and it's got a sort of a feathered edge, like a threshold around it, which is where I can't remember the name of the guy that steers the ship, but it's where he is anyway. Inside it, and again, it may be a little bit difficult to pick up, all these pieces here and here are another type of evergreen sheet, that has thinner parallel lines, so they look a little bit like wall paneling. And the only photographs I've been able to find from online to show a sort of a coloured interior to this is for a restored one. There's no details on it either, so I don't even know whether it's the one that's in Canada or whether it's another one somewhere else in the world. But basically, it's got all this paneling all the way around the edge. I also altered, get it the right way around, I also altered the doors. I took off the door detail and I made up some thinner door sections and put the rails in as well. So these are like the sliding doors that you'd have to get into the cabins. I've got to add a couple of handles and things to these yet, but by and large they're done and ready to paint. I had a bit of an accident on this side. This piece broke away earlier today, so I'm going to stick it back on again, and it'll be good to go then to paint. There is, if you see how this goes together, this is a section that fits in here. Let's just pop that back in. So there's another sliding door here, so you'd enter via the back there, and you come through this sliding door, or there's a door here that you can enter through, and this has got a large map table on the back on some very tiny gallows brackets, and I'm going to put some charts on there. I'll put maybe a shelf on the back wall with some charts and things, and this part here at the back, which has got like a little desk in around two sides, that's going to be the radio room. And again, I'll put just some little blocks of styrene painted grey to represent the radio equipment. and I've got a feeling somewhere I've got a couple of little tiny stools, maybe from I think they came with a model railway kit. So a couple of little chairs in there, maybe a couple of people sat down. Obviously this is going to be there's a bit of a gap at the back there, but that'll close up when it's all glued in place. But I've left this loose so it'll slide in and out, so I can paint it. And so that's sort of that. And then I've made some tiny and these are all scratch built really. There's a ship's wheel. Now this was made from I think it was a wheel off a 1/35th trolley, and I drilled some holes in the edge and added some brass wire to act as the sort of points where they grip the top of the wheel, and it's mounted on. This is actually a kit part, one of the ventilators, but because I'm using the white metal ones, I won't be using the plastic ones, so that came in handy to make that part. So that'll sit for somebody to be driving the ship or steering the ship. There's a compass housing. Now this is the plastic one from the kit that normally sits on the top deck, so basically on the roof of this wheelhouse. But because I've got a white metal one to replace it, I've used the plastic one, which is slightly less detailed, that will go inside the wheelhouse. This will be like a brass color. There's also a teeny tiny telegraph. Again, this is all scratch built. The thing where they throw the arm forward and it says, full ahead and reverse and whatever, and that telegraphs to the engine room. So that's based on the photograph I found online. And there's another one, and I've no idea what this does. On the photograph, it's described as a rotary telegraph, and it's just got like a tiny wheel on, and then I can't see the top of it on the photo. I'm assuming it's some kind of dial with writing on. But anyway, that's going in the other side. So all those little bits are done. On the photos of the restored one, there is actually a little bunk here. So I might actually scratch build the bunk with some bedding on. Whether they had maybe somebody on watch and somebody sleeping, and then they could wake them up if anything happened, I don't know. But there's room there for a bunk, so I might put a bunk in just to add a bit of detail. As I say, a lot of this may not be visible, but it's worth a look, just so you've got something to look at rather than just an empty box. I've still got to glaze all these windows, and I'm going to do that with acetate on the inside. I may add some frames to the inside once the acetate's in, but I've got to paint the whole of this first before I put the acetate in, rather than mask off all these individual windows. And hopefully that'll at least look the part. So there's a couple of evenings work gone into this, and it's it takes its time, but it's worth the effort. So that's about it really. I mean, as I say, hopefully the decks will be on within the next 24 hours, and then I can look at maybe trying to paint, get the first coat of paint on, or certainly the first coat of primer on, in order to be able to start adding more of the superstructure and sort of painting as I go then really, and just adding bits as I go along, because there's no way you could put this thing together and then expect to paint it all in situ, because you'd never reach all the detail. So every single item is going to have to be individually finished, individually weathered, and then added, and then maybe just finally blend it together with a little tiny bit of weathering where you can get brushes in, or maybe a little bit of pigments or something to sort of blend the two together. Okay, so hopefully I'll have another update within the next couple of days. And as ever, thanks for watching. And if you just happen to have come across this this channel, then you know, please subscribe. And I'm not really chasing subscriptions, or, you know, I mean, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. But it's nice to know, you know, roughly how many people are looking at things and how many people are sort of liking what I do. So if you feel the urge to subscribe or like, then, you know, feel free. Okay, see you soon.